Alright, so today we're going to talk about compounded interest. Now, what if I gave you a similar situation where I said, hey, I'm going to give you $30,000 and it's going to be 12% interest, so that's really high. Technically, the average S&P 500 rate of return over the last 10 or 20 years is 12% interest, so that's why I chose this number. And you're going to invest your money for 6 years. So 6 years, with this being consistent as it has been in the last 20 years or so. But what if your money was compounded quarterly? Now, compounded, if it's compounded quarterly, well, how many quarters are there in a year? Well, there's 4 quarters in a dollar, so there are 4 quarters in a calendar year. If it's compounded monthly, then you would say 12, because there are 12 months in a year. If it's compounded semi-annually or biannually or whatever, there are 2 halves in a year, so it would be 2. If it's compounded annually, then it would be 1, right? So however much it's compounded, we're going to have this determine what that number is compared to a year. So here's the formula. We still have our final amount. After we invest, we're going to have our initial amount. Sometimes people use A or P or I for your I for initial amount. And it's 1 plus if we're increasing. Now if we're decreasing, we'd say 1 minus. Our interest rate, so R, as a decimal, so not a percentage, divided by the number, which is N, the number of times it's compounded in a year. And then this is raised to that same number times the number of years. So in our situation, I want to know how much am I going to have if I give you $30,000, so $30,000, and I'm getting all of my investment back plus some, so plus my interest rate, well, 12% interest is 0.12 over the number of times it's compounded in a year. Well, if it's compounded quarterly, there are 4 quarters in a year. And then this is going to be raised to that same number 4, or N. And for how many years? Well, we're talking 6 total years. Now, I have to warn you in your calculator, you're going to need to add an extra set of parentheses here. So 1 plus, anytime you enter a fraction, use parentheses, 0.12 divided by 4, close those parentheses and then close the entire parentheses. And then raise it to the 24 or to 4 times 6. Right? Now, if you plug that into your calculator, we're saying, okay, well, now what I have after 6 years is going to be, and again, we're dealing with money, so it's going to be $60,000. $60,983.82. So we're going to go to 2 decimal places. So if you invested $30,000 into the S&P 500 and you didn't need to touch it for 6 years, average interest rate 12%, and let's say it's compounded quarterly, so divided by 4. After 6 years, that would just over double your money. And so there used to be what's called the rule of 7, because the average rate would be 10%. And so if you can assume you're going to get 10% back, the rule of 7 says every 7 years your money is going to double. Well, now we can almost say it's the rule of 6 with the S&P 500 because of the 12% interest. So anyway, this is just a positive example if you are investing. Now, again, if you took out a private student loan and it was $30,000, and you go to med school and it takes you 6 years to get through everything, well, at 12% interest, you now owe $60,000 instead of $30,000. So that would be the bad side.